When was the last time you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back? Maybe he's tired. Maybe he's broken. But listen, broken men are not weak. They're just waiting to become warriors. The world doesn't owe you healing, but you owe yourself the fight to rise again. You weren't born to be average, but life doesn't care about your dreams. It hits brakes, strips you of pride and purpose. One failed job, one betrayal, one quiet night when everything you built crumbles and suddenly you're a man staring into the abyss. But here's the truth: nobody told you pain doesn't destroy you. Avoiding the pain does. What if every scar you carry, every moment you hit the floor was simply preparation for war, not against others, against your own limits? Today is not about comfort. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about facing the truth. You have one life, and right now you're wasting it hiding behind excuses. What you need isn't another motivational quote. What you need are weapons. Mental, emotional, spiritual. And I'm going to give you 5 of them. These aren't theories. They're battle-tested truths. Lessons from soldiers, leaders, broken men who crawled back from the edge. Each one is a punch to your excuses. Each one is a key to unlock the fire buried under your failure. So if you've been silent too long, if you've let life shut you down, this is the moment you either get bitter or get better. You can stay broken, or you can build from the ashes. You don't need saving. You need a reason to fight. And by the end of this, you'll have 5. There's a moment that defines whether you're a spectator or a warrior. It's not dramatic. It's not on a battlefield. It's something as small as a free bagel. Simon Sinek told a story. He and a friend were running in Central Park. At the finish line, a table stacked with free bagels waited behind a long line of people. Simon said, "Let's grab one." His friend replied, "The line's too long." Simon said again, "But they're free." His friend wouldn't move. The bagels were right there, but all he saw was the line. Simon stepped forward, reached between 2 people, grabbed 2 bagels, and walked away. No one got angry. Why? Because he didn't take what wasn't his. He didn't push anyone out. He just didn't wait for permission. That's the rule. You can take what you want in life as long as you don't stop someone else from getting what they want. Too many men see only the line, the obstacle, the fear of breaking social norms. They wait, hesitate, ask for approval, and lose the chance. But warriors, they see the bagel, they see the prize, and they step forward while others are still debating. You don't have to follow the line. You don't have to ask the world if it's okay to want more. Just don't block others while you go get it. Break the line, not the law, and never the man next to you. In the 1800s, thousands of women were dying after childbirth. It was called childbed fever, and no one knew why. Doctors studied corpses in the morning, then delivered babies in the afternoon without washing their hands. One man, Dr. Oliver Wendell Holmes, pointed out the truth. The doctors were the problem. They called him crazy. For 30 years, they ignored him, until finally, someone listened. And when doctors began sterilizing their tools and washing their hands, the deaths stopped. What does this have to do with you, everything? Because sometimes you're the one causing the damage, not the world, not your past, not your enemies, you. You can't build a warrior mindset if you only take credit for what goes right. You have to own the blood on your hands, the decisions you made, the people you hurt, the chances you didn't take. Warriors don't hide behind blame. They don't point fingers. They stand in front of the mirror and say, "That was on me." This is not about guilt. It's about power. Because the moment you take full responsibility, you take back control. You stop being a victim. You start being a builder. You get to take the glory when you win. But if you want that right then, you must also carry the weight when you fail. Real warriors take responsibility for both the blade and the wound. In the world of elite warriors, there is one unit that stands above the rest. The United States Navy SEALs, physically brutal, mentally relentless, emotionally crushing. To become a SEAL, you have to survive something called BUD-S. It is not just a test of strength, it is a test of soul. A SEAL instructor once said, "I can't tell you who makes it through, but I can tell you who doesn't." It is not the muscle-bound guys covered in tattoos. It is not the natural leaders barking orders. It is not even the star athletes with shredded bodies and perfect stats. He said, "The ones who make it are the ones who, when they are physically spent, emotionally shattered, freezing, hurting, barely holding on, they find just enough strength to reach out and help the man next to them." Let that sink in. The ones who make it are the ones who do not fight alone. You want to rebuild from failure. You want to become a warrior. Then stop thinking this is a one-man battle. Because if you think real strength is suffering in silence, you are not tough. You are dying slowly. Look around you. You are not the only man who has fallen. You are not the only one broken. And you are definitely not the only one trying to crawl out of hell. But here is what separates the fallen from the forged: the willingness to lift another while still bleeding. That is what warriors do. They reach out. They say, "I've got you." Not when it is easy, when it is hardest. They ask for help without shame. They offer help without ego, because they know something soft men do not. No one climbs out alone. And the truth: there are people around you, friends, brothers, mentors who have always wanted to help. They just did not think you would ever admit you needed it. The moment you say, "I'm scared, I'm stuck, I don't know what I'm doing," is the moment doors open, arms reach out. Brotherhood begins, but you must go first. Help someone today, not because you are strong, but because helping will make you stronger. And when help is offered, do not reject it. Accept it. Practice receiving without shame. That is how warriors heal. The battlefield is not won by the loudest. It is won by the one who knows who to carry and when to be carried. There is a reason true leaders do not speak first, and there is a reason fake leaders love the sound of their own voice. In leadership circles, one name is mentioned with reverence: Nelson Mandela. A man who spent 27 years in prison and still came out with vision, purpose, and grace. But do you know where he learned leadership? Not in war, not in books, not in speeches. He learned it sitting beside his father at tribal council meetings. He observed two things. First, they always sat in a circle. Second, his father was always the last to speak. Think about that. While others rushed to voice opinions, Mandela sat quietly. He watched. He listened. Not just to the words, but to the fears behind the words, the frustration hidden in tones, the values buried in stories. Only when everyone else had finished did he speak, and when he did, it was not noise. It was clarity. Now compare that to the average man in a room full of voices. Most of us are just waiting for a gap to jump in. We listen not to understand, but to respond. We nod, interrupt, agree loudly, disagree louder, trying to dominate the space. That is not power. That is insecurity disguised as confidence. Real power is patience. Being the last to speak is not weakness. It is strategy. It gives others the gift of being heard. It earns you insights. And most importantly, it gives your words weight when they finally come. But how does this apply to your life, especially if you are rebuilding yourself? When you are broken, there is a temptation to prove you still matter. You talk too much, defend too quickly, pretend to know more than you do. But warriors do not need to prove anything. They prove everything in silence. Next time you are in a meeting, a conversation, or even an argument, hold back. Listen completely, ask questions, clarify what they mean, not to manipulate, to understand, because understanding creates advantage. Understanding builds trust. Understanding gives you the high ground. And here is something deeper. Listening is not just for others, it is for yourself too. The voices in your head, the chaos, the self-doubt, they get louder when you always talk, when you always react. But when you sit still and just absorb, clarity begins to form. You hear your own soul through the noise. You realize what really matters, what can be let go, and what deserves your full strength. In the battlefield of the mind, silence is your shield. Listening is your sword. So practice it. Every day, hold your tongue a second longer. Let others speak first, not to stay invisible, but to grow undeniable. Because the man who waits to speak often ends up saying the one thing everyone remembers, and in a world full of noise, the warrior who listens becomes the one voice that truly leads. Success can lie to you. Fame can blind you. Titles can trick you into believing you are more than you really are. Simon Sinek once shared a story about a former Undersecretary of Defense who spoke at a major conference. The year before, when he held the powerful position, they flew him business class. A car waited for him at the airport. The hotel room was ready. The coffee was served in a fine ceramic cup, and everyone addressed him with formality and respect. The next year he returned to speak again, but now he was no longer in power. He flew economy, took a cab, checked himself in, poured his own coffee into a cheap styrofoam cup, no greetings, no VIP treatment. And he said, the ceramic cup was never meant for me. It was meant for the position I held. I deserve a styrofoam cup. Let that lesson sink in. Many men chase success to fix their pain, to prove their worth, to silence their inner failure. But once they get the title, the applause, the attention, they forget who they are underneath. True warriors stay grounded. They know the applause is for the uniform, not the soul. The perks are for the position, not the man. And they remind themselves every day, you were born without the suit, without the salary, without the spotlight, and you'll leave this world the same way. This is not about rejecting success. It is about carrying it with humility. Enjoy the good things. Be grateful for the recognition, but never let it define your identity. You are not your rank. You are not your income. You are not your image. You are the man who earns respect by character, not by title, who pours his own coffee, who remembers the styrofoam cup. Because in the end, when it all fades, only the real you remains. You've just been handed 5 truths, not just ideas, weapons, each forged in real pain, sharpened by failure, and proven by men who chose to fight back. You now know that you can reach for what you want without waiting for permission, that your past only has power if you refuse to own it. That strength is found in lifting others, not just yourself. That listening is leadership, and that real worth isn't in the titles you hold, but the humility you carry. These are not lessons to admire. They are truths to live. So what now? You rise. Not because it's easy, but because there is no other option. You rise knowing the pain isn't over, but your weakness is. You rise not as the man who broke, but as the one who rebuilt. Start with one truth. Apply it today. Let it guide one decision, one conversation, one moment of resistance. Then repeat tomorrow. Because warriors are not built overnight. They are forged one choice at a time. And no matter how long you've been down, how far you've fallen, how many people wrote you off, you are not finished. You're just getting started. Rise, warrior. Your time begins now.